when making this list, there's a lot of things you have to take into perspective, and that's including basically a lot of the players, weapons, systems, coaching, and defense and offensive line. It just matters a lot when making this, and there's about four guys I kept out of this list that could definitely be on this list, which is Kirk Cousins, Kyler Murray, Dak Prescott, and then also Deshaun Watson, considering he probably won't play at all this season. At number 10, we have Derek Carr. Derek Carr is such a good quarterback with 68.4 completion percentage last season, 4,800 yards, 23 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. That's the worst about him. He doesn't throw a bunch of touchdowns last year and threw a little bit more picks than he would like. That's really just because he doesn't really have a good red zone threat, and they have Josh Jacobs, Kenyon Drake on that roster. Heading into the next position, we have Tom Brady. Tom Brady had probably the best season of any quarterback last year. Throwing for what was it, 5,500 yards, I believe. No, 5,300 yards. Winning 13 and 4, 67.5 completion percentage, which is pretty good. 43 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. That's a pretty solid ratio considering he threw the ball a lot and played almost every game. Coming in at number 8, we have Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson definitely doesn't have the best passing numbers last year, only being a 64 percentage passing completion percentage, 20, almost 3,000 yards, I'd say. 16 touchdowns, 13 interceptions. Not the best, but his rushing upside's crazy. Played with a team that was super injured last year. Only played 12 games. Not even that because he was injured and pulled out of a couple of those games and went 7-5. Basically carrying his team when he was on the field. And I think he'll have a way better season this upcoming year because his team's going to be less injured. At number 7, we have Matthew Stafford. Matthew Stafford is a very good quarterback, as he had probably his best season last year that he's ever had, and that's really big for him considering he went to a new team. But he did have a little bit of an interception problem towards parts of that season, I say towards the middle to second half of the season, where he did throw 17 interceptions, but had 41 touchdowns, which is great. Almost 4,900 yards. He's about 14 yards shy of that. 67.2 completion percentage, which is pretty good. And he played 17 games. Went 12-5. Very good. Obviously, they won the Super Bowl. They probably would have not made it to the Super Bowl. The Clichy Tart would have actually picked that ball off that he just lobbed up there for no reason to no one. And that's why I have him at number 7 on this list. At number 8, we're gonna go with Joe. No, at number 6, we're gonna go with Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow had a breakout year last year after coming off that big injury. So seeing him come out and play the way he did, going 10-6, 4,600 yards, 34 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, um, playing 16 games, taking his team to the Super Bowl, which was crazy. That just you don't see that, and he has the best completion percentage, I believe, on this list, which is 70.4, with probably the worst O line, averaging almost 9 yards a attempt. That's crazy. He's definitely gonna have a really good season next year with a better O line. They just got so much better, but every team got better, and a lot of people say they can't recreate that and go to the Super Bowl. If that team that they have now was in the Super Bowl, they would have won it against the Rams because their offensive line would have been so much better. Adding La'el Collins, Alex Kappa, and Ted something, like he has a weird last name, but he's actually was pretty good on the Patriots last year, and you can move him around and play different positions. And they drafted the center, and they have Jordan Williams on that team. He was a pretty good left tackle. Just wasn't that great of a unit last year. That's why he didn't play his best. Um, at number 5, we're hitting going with Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's such a good quarterback. Had a down year last year, playing only 14 games, but going 6-8. He didn't play all 14 games like fully. He got injured, and I want to say like one of them, and then finish out another. And he had 25 touchdowns, 6 interceptions with 3,100 yards, which is pretty solid considering he was on a team with just bad roster. As a Seahawks fan, we have such a bad roster, averaging 7.8 yards at attempt. Pretty solid considering that's probably his worst year, and still having a little bit of above a 4-1 touchdown ratio interception ratio. That's pretty good, and surprised he played as good as he did in the second half of the season, where he had over like 600 yards in 2 games, which after that finger injury, so he still has it, and we'll see what he can do this upcoming year on the Broncos, as he should have a much better team around him. So that's why I have him at number 5 on this list. At number 4, we have Aaron Rodgers, back-to-back MVPs for him. I think he has like 3 or 4 now. I think it's 3, but he may have 4. And he had probably the best season of any quarterback last year, other than Tom Brady, in my opinion, with 4,100 yards, 37 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. That's crazy. Less than 5 interceptions, almost 40 touchdowns. You never see that. And played 16 games. Took his team to, I think that was the first seed. They ended up losing, but in the playoffs. But that was just really bad special teams. They would have won that if it wasn't for special teams. And almost passed for 69 per completion percentage, which is pretty nice if you ask me. And 7.7 yards attempt, which is also very good. He lost Davante Adams, MVS, which hurts them a lot. Added Christian Watson and Sammy Watkins, so that helps out a little bit, but not much. But that defense should be way better this year, as they added a couple guys in the draft and they re-signed everyone of keynotes except Darius Smith, but you still have Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith there, so they still have a good pass rush for the most part, and they added an interior guy, 2 interior guys with a middle linebacker and stuff. So that's why I'm at 4 on this list, but he is getting older, and he loves Davante Adams, probably the best receiver in football. At number 3, we have Patrick Mahomes. You're probably wondering why this guy is in number 1, but the reason is Patrick Mahomes has always played with some of the best talent on offense. And when you look at losing a guy like Tyreek Hill, and their defense even got worse after the fact that their defense was so bad last year, and that's why they didn't win as many games as they could have. They went 12-5 last year, but a lot of that was just getting lucky in games, and having Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce bail you out, and him, I guess. But he passed for 4,800 yards, 7.4 yards attempt, 37 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 66 completion percentage, which isn't bad. I think it'll be worse next year, statistically, because you lose probably a top 3, top 4 receiver in football, along with Travis Kelce. Obviously, he's gonna get older. So I don't think he's going to be as good as he was once, because he is now the number 1 option on that team, which a lot of teams are going to key in. But it was really hard for teams to balance out getting rid of either Tyreek or Kelce on every other play. Like, you got to choose one or the other. It's just that hard. But now there's only Kelce there. Their receiving core is not bad. They have a lot of 2 receivers, but it's not as good as having Tyreek Hill, obviously, and their defense got worse. That's why I have him at 3. At number 2, we have Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert had an amazing sophomore season, and I expect him to have an MVP type of season this upcoming year. As we look at his stats, Justin Herbert was pretty good. I believe he was like top 3 or 4 in passing yards this season, as he had what was it? He had 5,000 yards, which is pretty good. He went 9-8, played 17 games, 7.5 yards to attempt, 38 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Interceptions a little high, but pretty good for a rookie. Almost a 66 completion percentage, and obviously they missed the playoffs. They could have tied with the Raiders, but they kind of threw that game, even though they had it at one point. I think they're definitely going to be a lot better heading into this next season, as they added a lot of really good defensive players, adding guys like Khalil Mack and J.C. Jackson, and they drafted who was it? Zion Johnson, I believe, if that's his name, for the offensive line. So the offensive line got a little bit better, and Rashawn Slater going into his second year. Obviously, that receiving core and they added Gerald Everett should be better. That's why I have him at number 2 on this list. At number 1, I think Josh Allen will have the best season out of anyone heading into this next year. He's so good with the rushing upside, and he just has probably the best arm in the league. Throwing for 36 touchdowns, 15 interceptions, 4,400 yards, 63.3 completion percentage. Probably not the best stats like yards to interception. He had good yards, but interception wise, completion percentage, there were some games where they just struggled early on in the season. Obviously, losing to the Jaguars, not many teams this is the Jaguars, but they were one of them, and they still made it pretty far in the playoffs, and probably should have made it to the AFC Championship, but Tyreek Hill stole it from them, and that coin toss stole it from them, which was a little ridiculous that they don't let both teams have a shot at it, considering it's really like a pass first league, and you're gonna have a lot of guys fatigued towards the end of games. So that's why I have Josh Allen at number one. I think he's just gonna have an amazing season, especially with Gabriel Davis and what's his name? Isaiah McKenzie probably having breakout years. OJ Howard's going to be on that team now, and you also added James Cook. So yeah, if you guys like this video, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, tell us what videos you want to see next. Top 10 wide receivers, corners, edge rushers, whatever you guys want to see. We can even do like top 10 like all time tier list. So yeah, that's gonna be the end of the video. Peace.